What's up, you guys? It's me, Tim Trevathan, on another episode of Tim's Life. And this one is a very interesting one I really want to share with you guys. It has to do with my life in Korea, and not really so much my life living there in Korea, what the experience was like, but the reason why I left and the reason why I had to escape from the peninsula of South Korea. I have several reasons why, so I'm just going to dive into the first one. First, I want to just give a little backdrop of my background. I am a half Korean, half Caucasian guy. I grew up with a Korean mother, an American father. Here in the States, for most of my life, went to school K through 12 in Montgomery, Alabama, of all places. And then I attended Auburn University for college. And then I ended up going to Korea to live abroad to teach English. What I originally thought would be a 1-year stint turned into a 5.5-year experience. And it was one that was absolutely glorious on so many levels, which I cover a lot of other topics on my other videos about my experiences in Korea. But this specific video is about why I had to escape from Korea. Number one, I had seen and done everything in 5.5 years. Basically, my experience in Korea was full throttle, 120%. I was going 150 miles per hour as far as being able to see and do everything. And yes, of course, I didn't see every nook and cranny, every city, every mountain range and location that South Korea had to offer, but I did visit a lot of places, whether it was within Seoul itself. Where I live personally was in Bundang, which was in the Seongnam city, which was also located in the Gyeonggi-do province, the Gyeonggi province that was all surrounding Seoul. And so I had a chance to go to everywhere in Seoul, everywhere in Bundang, of course, and Seongnam. And then I ventured out. I had gone to Paju up north, closer to the DMZ itself, Incheon, Gimpo, also Sokcho, places on the East Sea, on the Gangwon-do province, and also down south, such as Ulsan and Busan, and also in the middle, Chungcheon province, places like Gongju, also Gwangju and Suwon, anywhere you could think of, Jeju, which is the island farther south. And so basically, I felt like I had gone to most of the cities, the major areas that people would say, you need to check this out. Not only that, when it came to just the local areas, the bars, the clubs, the restaurants, the parks, all kinds of different K-pop concerts, I had seen and done everything, it seemed like. A couple of the K-pop concerts I had gone to, and again, this was from 2010 to around March of 2016. So this was before the Blackpink and BTS era. I had seen other concerts like BoA, B, those are my old school favorites. I like the solo artists. Girls' Generation, also 2PM and Super Junior. So I had a fair share of concerts that I had gone to. And not only was I a teacher by day, I was also an actor by night. So one of the reasons why I went to Korea was not just to be an English teacher, but that would be my path or gateway, so to speak, to get me through the door into Korea to provide myself with a steady income while I tried to build up my acting career and make it big. Now that's on another video, so I'm not going to go into detail about the acting career, but I had seen a lot of actors and actresses, done a lot of roles. I felt like I really got to see something that a lot of the other expats who came from other countries around the world, native English-speaking countries that came to Korea to teach English, didn't get to experience. Not only that, because my mom's Korean, all of my mom's family lives in Korea. I've got an aunt, an uncle, and a couple cousins in Ilsan. I've got other family in Daejeon, and then I also have where my mom originally grew up, her hometown in Gongju, which that's a small town, Shigol town that has not changed for the last 35 years. So I truly had a great experience. Not one that I grew tired of necessarily, but it just seemed that I had seen and done everything to the point like I'm telling myself, I got to go back to America now and build a future before I get too old and it's too late. The second reason why I had to escape from Korea was that my parents' health started to decline and diminish. And I remember I was praying so much when I was in Korea, especially that last year when I started hearing about my dad's sleep apnea being so bad to the point that his doctor said that he had the worst case of sleep apnea that he had seen in any of his patients in the last 30 years. And my mom, who she had suffered with hallucinations back when I was 8 years old, took some really strong medicine, I think it was called Zyprexa, which ended up causing diabetes. And then among other things, different health related things that really pushed that whole diabetic status in her life, that I was like, you know what, I need to go home. Because prior to coming back home, I would go during the winter to see my parents, or the summer, whenever I had a break in Korea from my work, I would fly back to Montgomery, Alabama, and I would see my family and catch up with them. But it was only for like 1 or 2 weeks, and it seemed so brief and so short that when there's one particular winter break, when I came back to Korea, it felt like it was a blink of an eye. Like I didn't get to spend quality time with my parents, and I started to regret not being able to stay longer. And that happened, I believe it was right before I renewed my contract one last time for another year-long stint teaching English at the time, kindergarten that I taught at. And I said, that's it, I gotta come home, because I don't know how long my parents are gonna live. And I want to be able to see them, more often before they pass away, and fortunately, I'm doing this video now in 2023. I left Korea March 2016, so it's been about 6-7 years now. By the grace of God, my parents are still alive. Do they have their same health problems? Yes, they're still struggling with them, but I'm just so grateful that I've been able to spend the time now that I've been back home. And now I live in Atlanta, Georgia, so I don't live technically in Montgomery, Alabama, where my parents live, but it's only about a 3-hour drive down the interstate by car, so I am able to see them often, a lot more than I did when I was in Korea. Number 3, the third reason why I had escaped from Korea was because my own health was deteriorating the longer I lived in Korea. You might be thinking, what? Say what? How? You're a young guy. Well, yes, I was young. Back when I first went to Korea, September of 2010, I was 24 years old, right out of college. I was a recent grad from Auburn. And you know what? I said, man, I've got my whole life ahead of me. I've got so much energy and vivaciousness. It's going to be awesome. And was it? It was indeed. But when I got there, I started facing health problems that I never, ever would have thought, expected, anticipated, whatever you want to call it. For example, the pollution in Korea is tremendously bad. Now, a lot of people will say that the pollution is worse in China with their industrial factories there. But some people don't know this, but in Korea, you've got 2 types of pollution. It's double worse than in China, in my opinion. First, you got the domestic pollution, whatever's created within the country itself of Korea. And then you've got the pollution that's coming from China that blows over to Korea, mixes with the Gobi Desert sand, what's called yellow dust, one of the most frightening things you will ever experience in Korea, which typically peaks around March or April every year, where this cloud of yellow dust, literal yellow colored dust comes. And I remember, I think it was like 2 months in, I was walking the streets of Korea, and I was just like coughing up phlegm like crazy, mucus like crazy. I had no idea why, because I didn't feel sick, but I was just coughing it out. There were other days where I would walk down the streets and my eyes were burning. And here's a tip for you: if you're thinking about getting LASIK surgery for your eyes, I would say I'm in the rare 5 percentile that regrets getting LASIK surgery. One of the reasons why, 2 reasons, is I have high sensitivity to light now, so I have to wear sunglasses everywhere I go outside. And number 2, I have dry eye syndrome. And guess what pollution does to your eyes when you have dry eyes? It stings, it hurts, it burns. And it just seems like it never goes away. I think I remember taking eye drops 8 times a day on average every day while I was living in Korea. No joke. And it was intense. Something, again, that I didn't foresee. I had gotten LASIK surgery actually in 2011, and it was in the States. So I went back to the States, got LASIK, came back. It got worse than the first year when I was in Korea in 2010. Even though 2010 it was already bad with my eyes feeling like this burning sensation going on every day, it only got worse after LASIK. So the eye drops were the only thing I could rely on. And I would say the one good thing that came from this was that I found an eye drop that is the leading tear regenerative eye drop on the market called Restasis. and my eyes were not in such bad condition in Korea, I would have never heard about this product, which was administered to me in Korea, and the healthcare system is great there, so it was very cheap. I took home a lot when I came back to the States, and now that I've been here in the States for about 7 years, I'm still taking Restasis every day, twice a day to this day. And it's definitely been helpful. My eyes, while they're still a little dry still, they are much better than they were before. That's not all. Not only did I have problems with my eyes and coughing up phlegm from the pollution, but I had major feet problems. If you are flat-footed, be careful. I'm warning you, when you're in Korea, you need to wear very high quality good shoes. Nikes are nice fit, but if you have wide feet and you're flat foot at the same time like me, you're gonna need those shoes that are the double wide, like New Balance shoes, that will really help comfort your feet and your soles. Because here's the thing, I walked on average 4 miles a day in Korea, not because I chose to, but that's just the lifestyle there. With public transportation, I never had a car. I walked 4 miles on average versus about 1 mile on average per day in America. So what can this do to your feet? It can really put pressure and strain on them. And I was wearing some really bad shoes at the time because I had no prior foot problems until that time that I lived in Korea. So what happened? Well, I was at this hospital called Naobyongwon, Now Hospital, located in Soyeon-dong, Soyeon in Bundang in Korea, where I lived. And I found me a foot doctor who said, you've got an accessory navicular bone that is pushing on a posterior tendon on your left foot on the inside that is putting a lot of pain because of the fact that you're walking. I'm a 6'5" tall dude, so I also weigh more than most people. So just the body weight itself only makes it worse and exacerbates the problem. So believe it or not, 1 week away before I was about to get surgery to remove this bone, I asked the doctor a question after my dad recommended that I ask him this. I was like, sir, have you done this surgery before? He said, no, you'll be the first client, first patient. I was like, are you kidding me? I was about to be his first patient, and it could have been a royally screwed up scenario where I don't know if I would have recovered 100% after that surgery. So I canceled it, asked him, is there any other plan B that I could take? And he said, well, there's this thing called a custom orthotic. And again, this is a Korean doctor in Korea, but his English was fairly good, so we could still communicate this way. And I was like, well, hey, whatever it takes. Custom orthotic, okay, great. What is that? Basically, it's like a glorified shoe pad. It's a custom-made shoe pad. It's not like the Dr. Scholl's that you find at Walmart for 20 bucks. These are like $300 shoe pads that are custom to your feet after they do measurements of putting these weight tests in their hospital. After I started wearing those, man, it was a game changer. I don't have any feet problems anymore whatsoever, as long as I'm wearing those shoe pads. Now, I will say that the older I get, I start to weigh more. If I put on about 20 more pounds like I have in the last 7 years, it's starting to feel a little more painful. So I lost 10 pounds, no more pain. So make sure you're taking care of yourself too, and your fitness. You need to be going to the gym. Last but not least, when it came to my health deteriorating in Korea, the third thing I would say would be my sleep. Now, my dad has sleep apnea, so maybe I have a little bit of a hereditary gene where I've gotten it from my dad, but it's not nearly as bad as what my dad's got. But what I found to be the case, which I didn't expect once again, was the neon lights in Korea and the light pollution that's so intense there affected my circadian rhythm. So when I go to sleep at night, my body, my brain is thinking it's kind of still daytime, even though it's night, because of the neon lights bringing out that, light emission that makes you think that it's still daytime. And so a lot of times I couldn't sleep at night. And I still try to get my 8 hours of sleep every day, but I did not feel rested. I would wake up yawning. That's right. I would wake up yawning. Now that's kind of strange. What a dichotomy there. What an oxymoron there. So when I came back to America, I kid you not, are you ready for this? All of these symptoms went away overnight. You can smell the air in America and notice right off the bat, as soon as I came out of the airport, in the regional airport in Montgomery, Alabama, after I had gone from the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson airport to come to Montgomery, I came out of the airport and took my first inhale in. It was the cleanest air I had ever smelled in my life. something that I took for granted living in America and never would even imagine in 100 million years to say, this is what I've longed for. This is what I've wanted all my life, clean air. And so I didn't have the problems with phlegm, getting sick, having burning eyes as bad, still a little bit from the LASIK, but not as bad. And then the Restasis long-term really helped. And then because I always drive a car in America, I don't have feet problems anymore. And then when it comes to neon lights, well, there are none. And in fact, it's the opposite from Korea. It's very dark here. Sometimes there are no street lights and I'm complaining, where are they? So don't have problems with neon lights and messing with my sleep. Number 4, the fourth reason why I had to escape from Korea were the culture differences. Now, I'm gonna have to make another video on this because I could go into way too much detail that will take up this video to become a much longer duration than I want. But basically, having said that, I knew the culture differences from the first year I was in Korea, but you start to notice patterns the longer you're there. And if you can't accept them, in some cases I was, such as taking shoes off at the door right when you come inside someone's home. Why? Because I grew up there with my mom in a half Korean household, multicultural background. But other things such as the pushing and shoving when I'm trying to get into the subway, or a lady literally swooping in under my hand to use her T-Money card to scan for her subway fare when she is standing behind me, not giving me a chance to scan my card, or seeing how anywhere I go into a building, the person in front of me never holds the door, never. And these are just some of the cultural differences I experienced that really started to get old. I really started to get tired and annoyed by them. And I said, you know what? I think I would just do better by being in my own culture. And man, since I've been back, yes, that is one element. Being in my element, so to speak, is something that's been very relieving and more comfortable. But there's a good thing that came from the cultural differences, because now I'm a bit more open-minded in terms of respecting other people's cultures, and also knowing that God has made everybody so different. There's so much variety on earth, and I think that's what makes this creation, being as diverse as it is, showing how amazing of a creator He is. So that's one thing to reflect on. Number 5 and last point, why I had to escape from Korea, kind of tying into the first point, I had seen and done everything in Korea, is that I needed to start a career back home before it was too late. And more specifically, I wanted to prepare myself to be starting a family. Was I dating somebody at the time when I moved back to America? No. But for me, I knew at some point in my life, I wanted to start a family with somebody that I would meet. And I thought to myself, well, I'd rather be already established in America with a career, a job that I like, stable, with a house, with a car, all my insurance in place, got a circle of friends, a church community and whatnot, so that when I meet the person, those are things that we don't have to go finding ourselves in a situation where it's unstable. So it's funny because I say that's one of the reasons why I escaped, and I thought, well, am I really going to find a family? Well, lo and behold, as I'm doing this video here, I am married, and I do have an 8-month-old son, my first. And my wife is actually Korean, and she's not Korean American from America, but she's native Korean from Korea. So it's interesting because a lot of my friends who knew that I taught English in Korea, they assumed that I had met my wife in Korea, but no, that's not the case. We actually met through another friend who, my profession is real estate. I work in residential commercial real estate as a realtor. And one of my clients who bought a house, that client's wife introduced us. And that's another story on another video that you have to check out. So be sure to check that out next. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. I cover all kinds of topics, whether it's related to culture or tradition or traveling or religion. I like to cover it all. My honest take of things in life going on in my life, as well as hot topics that are very big time current events going on in today's society. See you on the next video.